today's session is on organization chart and organization strategy, also with this new AI org chart positions that and processes that we're starting to dabble into. So before we get into that, I'm just going to do a recap of what we covered last week, and then we'll get right into the organization chart. So what you're looking at now is called the TouchStone dashboard, and this is where processes are used. Using of the processes is the most important thing related to any of this. If the processes aren't used, then you might as well not even create them. So if you have a TouchStone account, which most of you do, this is your gold here. Like this is how you make all this work. If you don't have a TouchStone account, hear my words. You need to make sure your employees are using your processes. It's not just enough to say, here's the process, please follow it. If a manager's not following up, if it's not reinforced, if it's not talked about, it's soon going to become forgotten. Last week, we covered this section here called the 4 key functions. All you need to know for the purposes of the organization chart is that the 4 key functions is where all the processes are listed. This is where every single process is created and then organized into these 4 categories. So it's like an outline of all your processes. The 4 main categories drill down into subcategories like these, and then you see processes listed inside of those subcategories. If you choose a process, it takes you to the content. So how the step-by-step for how to do that work. This is also where the library is, which is right here. So right here is the general process library. I got questions about this last week. Anything that I'm going to say almost everything that you see in my account as we're going through this demo is in the library, except for some of these new AI processes, which will be in there shortly. So if you see a process like end of year checklist or scorecards, you don't have to email me and say, can I have a copy of that? It's in the library right here, and you can download it into your account, which is way easier and better than me emailing it to you. So all the processes are listed here, and then they are linked to the boxes on the org chart. So that is the simplicity and the beauty of TouchStone, in my not so humble opinion. It's this very simple but very easy to use interface where we have a simple list of all the processes here. We have an org chart with all the roles, all the positions, and then we tie the processes from the list to the roles. And that creates a list of processes that each position is responsible for. So this is a comprehensive list of what the office manager is responsible for. All of these processes here are derived from the 4 key functions list. So if I click this position, this is a comprehensive list of everything that the customer service position is responsible for. So this is an easy way to plan out and to also be able to view what each of your roles, each of your employees inevitably are responsible for. And all the processes, again, are here in this master list over in the 4 key functions. I can add processes directly to positions, but then I also have to add them to the 4 key functions, and TouchStone streamlines that for you. Or I can add them here to the 4 key functions and then link them to the boxes on the chart. Either way, it's this circle. So this is the organization chart. I'm going to just go through really briefly, technically, how to use it. It's very straightforward and easy. We are excited to say that in the late fall, there's going to be some new implementation to the organization chart, or some new features and functionality. People want color, so you're going to be able to change the color, and other kind of more robust drag and drop solutions and some other cool things. So there's some innovations coming to the org chart down in the fall winter release. So the chart is in a hierarchy. If you want to edit any of the roles, all you do is click the little 3 dots in the bottom corner. So I hit this and I choose edit, and then that allows me to edit the position and add the objective if I want. I can add the objective, which is the purpose of the position. It's the result of the position. It's not the work that the position does. It's not the details of all that. It's just this high level result or purpose of the position. So I can edit the content here. Little three dots again. I can add a new position. So hit, and then whatever position I'm on, it's going to drop it underneath. So this is the hierarchy. This is the managerial role. If I add a position, it's going to drop it beneath the manager. And then I can delete positions. Hit the little three dots, hit remove. It's going to say, are you sure? I say, okay, and then that position's gone. So pretty straightforward, editing the title, adding new boxes, and then deleting boxes, all in these little three dots. If I click a position, we'll click this one. It then here on this screen, I can also edit the title and the objective. So just by clicking. So that again can be done on the face of the chart, or you can click the box and you can do it here. Let's go back. You can drag and drop boxes around the chart just by simply doing that. Like hold my mouse key down. If I want to put this in operations, I drag it inside and then let it go. And then you can see it plops here. You can take whole trees and move them, and that's what will happen if you choose the managerial role. And if I hit this, then it's going to put this whole tree down here on this side. So you take the box and move it inside of the other box. You can see it kind of wavering here, and then drop it. Don't put it above or under or to the side. You put it inside of that box and then drop it. If you want to delete boxes, like if I wanted to delete this roll, but not all of these, then you'd have to move these away to another position. So I'd have to temporarily move them like here. And then you see this doesn't have anything underneath it. And so now I can go and delete it. Move them back. So shifting around boxes is pretty easy. Something about the structure of the chart. It is a hierarchy. So this is the top box, and then it goes from top to bottom. This typically means that this position, anyone with any box with boxes underneath it, any roles with roles underneath it, the ones underneath it are managed by the one above. I said that in a very complicated way, but you get it. This is the managerial role. Anything underneath it is a subordinate position or is managed by the position above. It doesn't, that is just typically how people read org chart flows like this. It doesn't have to mean that to you. If you want to do it, everything in a straight line, but you don't want it to look like there's this massive hierarchy or there's this subordinate position idea, you can still stack the boxes this way and explain that this is not the manager. Another example of that that's probably more direct is like this tree. So this is the apprentice box, junior, senior. This is a great analogy or a great visual of growing from within. So hire here, move here, move here. But you may decide that the junior here doesn't really manage the apprentice and the senior doesn't manage these two. The manager is this position. So that's just the way you interpret it. But here you see this kind of flow because it looks nice visually for people to see that it goes from top to bottom. Inside of TouchStone, there is a consequence to the hierarchy. And what the consequence is what happens here on the dashboard. So if I'm the office manager here, I have a managerial assignment for this role. And then because I'm the manager and these boxes are underneath me on the org chart, I see them here in my employees. But having said that, if you don't want this person to manage these people, then inside of account admin over here where you set up your users, you can make it a non-managerial role. So I could go here and rather than this being in a managerial assignment, I'm not going to change it, but I could make this a staff assignment. And then this person, when they log in as office manager, they're not going to see these positions underneath them. So this tree here would be might be an example of how you want to do that. All you do is make this the managerial role who manages these two, but whoever you assign here, make it a staff role, and then they won't see inside this position. The C inside of is this area. So because I'm the manager, I can go into Sandy's bookkeeper processes here and I can assign her things. I can view the work she's done. I can run reports on her. Um, I can see notes I've taken on her, notes she's given to me, and all of that I can see because I'm her manager. If you take away the managerial assignment, then that person, when they log in, they won't be able to see this. Let's go back here. Um, a lot of times people ask, how do I print the org chart? There's not a perfect solution for this because of, printer size, screen sizes. You can zoom in and out like this. You can drag back and forth like this. You can collapse positions by hitting that. They're not gone, they're just collapsed. And if I click the plus, they plop back out again. I'm just pulling the chart around by doing this and going left and right. This doesn't work great if you don't have a mouse. If you have your finger on a little pad, it's going to be terrible. So move the chart around only with a mouse. I mean, you can do it, but it's so much more controllable if you have a mouse. So one thing you can do is use a snipping tool like this one here. Everybody's got one in their Windows operating system. If you don't, get one because when you're documenting, being able to take pictures is great. So I can go here and with the snipping tool, I could take a whole picture of this. So now, I have a picture of it that I can print. I can adjust it from here. I could take a picture of half the chart, or I could collapse this roll and then take a picture of this and then open that up. So you have to kind of piece it together a little bit. If you have a large chart and you're like having this presentation where you have to get it printed on some kind of sheet of paper, always send us a message here through the help desk right up here, and we can knit it together for you in Adobe if you want. We do that like one-off times. But so having said all that, log into TouchStone and expand it on a big screen if you're going to do a presentation to people. Um, when you have huge organization charts, it's complicated to print. But that is one solution or idea. You can knit it together in Adobe if you want, or you can take your screen snippet and take pictures of it. All right, so let's talk about one of my favorite topics, which is organization strategy. So the question is, how do we create a good organization chart? And this is a really important question to ask yourself because what happens in a lot of small businesses is things just start evolving. You start off with 5 people and then your sales take off and then suddenly you have 10 and you have a need over here. And so you hire a position there and then you add that person. They were meant to be the bookkeeper, but they were really good at social media. So now they're doing this too. And then this person leaves. So then they have to fill in over here. And you've got this complicated kind of web or mess. Another thing that happens is you've got family members or you have you've taken over departments or you've taken over the business itself and you have old-time employees and they're really good at certain things and you can't mess with what they do. So all that complication we call people dependency. It's a common term. It's a Michael Gerber term. That's where it originated from. So this people dependency messes with your organization structure and your organization strategy. And you have people who are spanning the organization chart doing work. They're multitasking. They're probably really good at it. And so you allow them to do that. They keep doing more of it. You hire someone into this role and they turn out to be a really great salesperson, but they're not a great manager. And so they're quasi doing managerial work, but they're doing mostly sales. So all this complication kind of happens through no fault of your own. And if you're a manager on the line, you know this complication happens within a department too. It's not just company wide. This complication causes at the end of the day, it causes a lot of inefficiency, a lack of productivity. It's not good for being process dependent because it's so much in people's heads what they do and how they do it. It causes stress for that person. Now, anytime I talk to a business owner and they say, hey, meet my office manager. She's so great. She does everything. She's wonderful. I couldn't live without her. It's great to have this person, but this person goes home every night completely stressed out. Believe me, they are doing a lot, too much chaos. Multitasking is not a great thing for your mental state. So these are all reasons why creating a good organization strategy and then taking the dysfunction if you have it and laying it over an organized plan can be very helpful. So I'm going to explain to you how you do that. So first, let's talk about just the structure of a good organization chart. Top box should always be board of directors. I get people asking me all the time, how do I delete this? If you're a lawyer or in a law firm, I know you legally can't have a board of directors, but you can still have the owners. There can still be the owners of the law firm. And my pitch to keep this is, even if you don't have a formal board of directors, the purpose of this position is to maximize the value of the business or asset values. Maximize the value of the asset. That's what these people do. As the owner, that's your job. How do we create more value? How do we create dividends? How do we take this asset and decide how the net profit could be better? We don't care about who's earning what down here, or what the sales came in as and the bottlenecks there. We don't care about any of that. All we care about is how do we maximize the value of the business? To a certain degree, you don't care about people and their personalities and someone that's worked for you for 50 years. You do. So I'm not saying be cold. I'm saying let that set aside for a minute and think to yourself once a year, twice a year, what do we need to do to get free from this business and maximize the value? When do we want to sell it? What does the profit need to be? What is the multiple we can get? How do we create that? So that's what the board of directors does. It can also do formal things like bringing in external advisors and giving you whatever you need that the board can do. But in my mind, that's the value of this position. Underneath the board of directors or the owner's position is the president, CEO, general manager, whatever you want to call it. This person takes direction from the board and implements it throughout the company, department by department. They take direction from the positions above here and implement it through their key people below. So it's a much different role than what the board does. The board analyzes, creates objectives, which are implemented by the president. Now, if you're this and this, that's fine. Just compartmentalize. Think to yourself, how do I think strategy, maximizing the asset? And now what do I need to do tactically to implement that throughout my key departments below? So president manages the three departments below. Within the three departments below, there should be managers on top of those three departments. So sales and marketing is typically an important department. Operations, so the delivering of the products or services, a managerial role there. And then the office, the admin, the overhead, and a managerial role there. So if you don't have managers in these three roles, plan for that. Keep those three boxes. Because if you're this position, and this position, well, then you really need to compartmentalize. You really need to funnel in on what are my goals in these three roles and make sure you're getting those results. If you do have managers in these three roles, then wonderful. Focus on what happens next in the rows below. So going kind of left to right here, this is the sales and marketing department. Think through your sales and marketing needs. Generating leads, converting those leads, strategizing how you do all that. Those three things. Strategize how you do it, generate leads, convert leads. This strategizes, this also kind of strategizes and implements strategy. This creates leads and this converts leads. Think about your growing business. If you want to grow to a certain amount, how many leads do you need to have? Start to think about it scientifically. What leads do you need to generate to then convert, to then grow? But think about those three main functions: social media, lead generation, and then lay out the positions. Craft your position titles, so sales lead, advertising. That's kind of a boring title, but put in TouchStone the actual titles of the positions. When you do that, then that sets you up to recruit and hire for that position. It gives somebody a name as to what they do. It defines what they do. So the more you can define what a position or role is to achieve, which happens, inside of this box, but it starts with the position title and the objective. What is my title? What is the purpose of my role? It also helps, which we're going to talk more about in a minute, but it helps with this people dependency. Because if I know that this is the work of the marketing coordinator and I've listed out what all that work is, and I know this is the work of the bookkeeper and I've listed out all that work, if I have a person who's filling both of these roles, well, then they can see more clearly what it is they're supposed to do. And when they can start to delegate and plan to let go of that work, then they can do it in a more methodical way because they see this is what I do as marketing coordinator and this is what I do as bookkeeper. So think about the position titles. So once all the sales and leads are coming in and sales are being converted at a certain rate, and all that gets dumped on this department here, then this is the department to deliver your products or services. So envision this. Think about what are the levels within your operations? Do you need a lead role? Do you need a service manager? Do you need another level of managers? They say that one person can only manage effectively 10 people. So that's what they say. And I think it's pretty true if you're using managerial processes to manage your employees. And what I mean by that is you're following managerial protocol. You're doing one-on-one meetings, you're doing department meetings. You up here are systematizing all of this, building all the processes, making sure the training's all there, managing the staff, looking for what they need to grow in the future and what they're doing now, looking for efficiencies, doing productivity analysis. If you're doing all of that, you can only do that for 10 people effectively. So think about what that looks like for you. Do you need a senior role? Do you need a junior role? Do you need how many levels? And a lot of it depends on the size of your business. As the business grows, then more of this is necessary, more of the managerial levels. Think about growing talent from within. So this scenario of apprentice, junior, senior, this can also pertain to like sales, junior, apprentice, junior, senior. It depends on how complex your sales process is and how hard it is to learn. We can take a completely efficient salesperson who can take a lead, an unqualified lead even, and convert it at 75%. Well, that person, the sales lead, didn't get there overnight. So they're learning from the bottom up. So do you need a junior, senior, and then up to the sales lead? This is also a great technique for scaling, which is a word we all hear all the time. Basically means being able to grow profitably. So scaling, you need to know what is it going to cost me to bring these people in? Then what is it going to cost me to grow them here? Then what is it going to cost me to make them a senior? And what is the time and the expense of all of that? Until you know that, you can't really grow your business, in a profitable way. So think about your levels or layers. Um, Consider, each of the product lines that you support, and then sketch those positions out. Just a side note on the TouchStone org chart, if you have 10 apprentices, you don't need 10 boxes. You just need one that says apprentice. And then what happens is if you add employees to TouchStone, you assign them all to this role, and then they all see the same processes when they log into the dashboard over here. When they use them for training or anything else, that's all saved separately. But you only need one role on the org chart. So think about the structure you need here to deliver those products or services profitably. So over here, the sales and marketing are producing lots of great sales, and then they get put over here. So what do you need here to deliver those products or services profitably? And what is the timing of it all? There's always this balance between sales and marketing and operations. We're always juggling that. Like, can we have enough people here that are going to be fully trained to deliver those services? Are we going to have enough sales over here in order to keep these people busy? Am I going to be able to provide enough work to all these new hires I just made? Am I going to be able to deliver on all these sales that I've spent all this advertising money on? It's always this juggle. So this is how you use the org chart to envision all of that and to plan for it. So theoretically, if you're implementing sales and advertising programs here, and you can manage your sales cycle enough to know that it'll take 2 weeks and then they convert at a certain rate over here, then you should be able to say at what point the jobs are going to be ready for these people to then deliver them, or for consultants to be able to deliver them, or for your chefs to be able to cook enough food. So whatever your industry is, it's the same idea. So think of the timing of that, and then what does it take to grow from here to here to here? And then how does that work with the advertising you're doing over here? So this is how the org chart can help you with that balancing act. It's not perfect, but it's way better than any other non-method. It's way better than not doing it, I guess I want to say, because the not doing it is, let's just hope the sales come in and then we get enough people. Let's hope we can find enough senior techs to deliver all the products or services, people already trained. Let's hope that that happens. And typically it doesn't happen, and then profitability suffers. So the only way to gain control and to get your power back is to learn how to grow your own talent from within, because then you know you can create these positions, and it just takes a certain amount of time and effort. A question I often get asked here is, what happens if we spend all this time and effort and then these people leave? We spent a year taking them from here to here and then they leave. Or we spend 6 months taking them from here to here and then they leave. There's no easy answer to that. They're going to leave if you don't have a game worth playing. People are sometimes going to leave, and that's stuff you can't control. But create a game worth playing. Create a bus people want to get on. This is some business philosophers' terminology around this. Michael Gerber says, create a game worth playing. So what that means is create a place people want to be. Have good culture. Have good management. The number one reason, I read this statistic not too long ago again, the number one reason people leave, bad management. That you bring them into your business, you don't onboard them correctly, and then you throw them into with little to no training or look over my shoulder training. They have a bad manager who is overwhelmed themselves and doesn't know how to manage, and they're like, screw this, we're leaving. Especially if you have kind of a low bar to entry down here. So think about your game worth playing. I would suggest that organization strategy, a good organization chart, would help you in that game worth playing, because you can sit down with people and say, this is where you are now. In order for you to move here and make more money in 6 months, these are the things that you need to do. This is what we're looking for. Um, you people over here, we need a marketing manager next year by Q3. I'm looking for someone who I can train and develop and grow to be this role. So the org chart can show your people that you have thought through the training, you thought through the growth path for people. And this is a simple chart. Your organization chart is probably 3 times this. So there's more dynamics to this that you can explain to your employees. But this is a way that this chart and this tool helps with your game worth playing. The mission, purpose, vision that we talked about last week, that also helps. Like, this is who we are. Having a good management philosophy, which is a tool here in the strategy and management section. It's called management philosophy. Coming up with what do managers do? How do they treat people? How do we want people to feel? And having all these people agree to it, really important, because then that's one of the ways that you make sure that your people are managed correctly. So now let's talk about this area. This is the sales and marketing, or the admin finance area. This is typically called overhead. But in my opinion, this can become one of the departments that makes the other department successful. The department that makes the other department successful. For example, if sales and marketing are generating leads, they're converting those leads are coming in, sales are getting converted, And then operations is delivering those products or services. And we know that if someone's an apprentice tech, they're going to be less profitable maybe than than this senior tech. If we need to know how many hours it takes to get from here to here, and then did the 3 people we hired last week actually get from here to here on time? If we want to know what our sales conversion rate is and what our cost per lead is, well, this department tells people all of that. If you have managers running around trying to get all that information themselves, if you have people running around like sales leads and techs trying to figure out all that information, to the degree that they're doing that is the degree that they're not generating new business for you and converting that business and earning money. So this department can make the rest of the business run smoother, good information, point out bottlenecks, everything that they need to know to manage well. And they do that through financial reporting, IT, any kind of software or computer processes that you use, admin support. So things that these people should not be doing. I don't know why people are afraid of that, but these positions exist for a reason, and that's to provide that admin support so that this guy can make more sales calls because he's doing less admin work. So think about your positions here in the office section. Bookkeeper, some kind of finance entity, super important. There is some phenomenal, talk about AI, there's some phenomenal bookkeeping services that have come out which use AI for all the bookkeeping. They're very cheap and really easy to use. But if you have a traditional bookkeeper, that person needs to have all the information entered and have it done on time so that you can look at those tools, your P&L, your cash flow, your balance sheet, and know how your business is doing. So at a minimum, good financial reporting. Customer support, making sure that customers are seen, heard, communicated with, complaints. How did that job go? Job costing. How did we do compared to how we thought we were going to do? All that great stuff, which helps you retain customers, some type of customer support. Sometimes people with this position here in operations, or sometimes even here, doesn't matter where it is, but that kind of work needs to be done. Go back. HR. So this is an example of like how to mark a position as a future hire. You can put the quarter you're going to hire them in, but some type of HR. In smaller businesses, the office manager may do the HR. In larger businesses, you may need a human resource person. Some type of reception or admin assistant who's doing the administrative work. Virtual assistants are getting really big and popular. So thinking of this idea of how to make all these people more effective and efficient, maybe a virtual assistant is a good solution for that. You still need processes. You still need that position on your org chart. So envision your business in the future. So here are the steps. Think about what your business growth is going to be. Imagine your business 2 or 3 years out. Don't go beyond 3 years. 3 years is really hard to plan for alone. Anything beyond 3 years is even harder to plan for. I like 2 years. I think that's a good planning cycle. Build your chart as a picture of that business in the future. So wipe away people and personalities and someone who's been there for 20 years and all those little intricacies and put your entrepreneurial hat on and think, how can I structure this business to be the most effective? What are the positions I need when we're doing 10 million in the future? What does this department need to look like in order to have a gross profit of a certain amount? So in other words, how do these people need to be producing? What is the expense of that going to be? Because that varies with sales. What does the expense of that need to be so that we can have a gross profit of a certain amount and a net profit of a certain amount? Think about this department. What's the right amount of overhead? What's not enough? What's too much? So think about the balance of sales and marketing and operations and sketch your business out for the future. Don't overdo it. So if you have a box on your chart, make sure that that position is going to be full-time at the time that you've reached your goal. So in the 2 years. There might be, if you're saying yeah, but right now, there might be positions that are always part-time. It's possible. If that's the case, fine, put them on your org chart. But don't plan these boxes so far out into the future that it's not going to happen in 2 years because you're just making it more complicated than it needs to be. But if you have a scenario where you have one person who's the marketing coordinator and the advertising, and you know that in 2 years or even in 1 year, that's going to be too much for one person, then break it into two roles and think of them as separate. One person's filling both of these roles, but they're separate. And then when you're ready to hire, put the future hire date in, decide which box you're going to hire first, put the future hire date in. And the goal would be to have all those processes documented by the person doing the work before you'd hire. So think about how the growth that way. So if I'm the bookkeeper and the receptionist, and I know in 1 year our sales over here, because my plans are going to get big enough that one person can't do both roles, decide on the hire date and put the hire date in the title like this one does. And then decide, is this person filling both of these roles going to be the bookkeeper or are they going to be the receptionist? They're going to be the bookkeeper. Have them work on all the processes for this position. Have it fully systematized, all the processes documented before Q4 rolls around and you need to hire that position in. That's a great way to do training. That's a great way to scale. That's a great way to plan. This isn't a good example of scaling, but over here is, so if I have a senior tech who's also doing work of an apprentice and a junior, I break into three roles. I separate the work that they're doing into these three, and then we create the processes for this one and this one and this one. And now I can multiply this over and over and over. I can add people over and over with that same consistent result because we have the processes documented. So once you've got your future chart, looks good to you, then lay over the current situation. So think about the people that you have now. Don't think about them before you build the chart. Think about them now. So we've got this structure. This is the rule. This is the way it is until you decide to change it. This is the organization structure. Nobody's people, nobody's personality, what they're good at or not good at, how their feelings, none of that matters. This is the organization structure, and they can't change it. The people don't get to decide. Believe me, they're going to like it in the end, but they don't get to decide. Now take the people and lay them over this. So if you've got Sam, who's the office manager, and the customer support position, and the bookkeeper, and also does marketing, well, Sam fills this role, this role, this role, and this role. He's not one position called Sam. He's 4 positions now. And this is a breath of fresh air, I would say, for most people in the situation like Sam, because you're going to say to Sam, let's talk about what you do as the bookkeeper. Let's talk about what you do as customer support. Let's talk about what you do as marketing coordinator. Let's lay out those processes. Let's build those processes. Now, this is a plan to get you out of those roles and into office manager full time. That's amazing. I think who people would be crazy not to like that. The people who don't like it are the control freaks because they want to control it all. So you need to break through personalities like that. And in a way, it's your fault because you created it. You gave Sam that power. So break that apart a little bit and teach a new way that you want to go forward in the future and step your way towards it. If you have a person, if you're the office manager, say, so you're the owner, the president, and the office manager, and then you have, no employees down here, break it out into these specific roles and then decide what needs to happen in those roles. So look at it from every angle that you can based on who's in that role. So there's a few rules about this that are important to follow. You can't have 2 people in the same role when you're laying over the present with the future or the future with the present. There can't be 2 people doing the same thing. So I can't have 2 office managers or 2 people being the manager. Now, if you have 5 service technicians, fine, that's not what I mean, of course. But you can't have one role with 2 people accountable for it. That gets very confusing. It defies um, all of the laws of productivity. There's this constant not knowing who's supposed to do what. This generally happens when you up here have promoted somebody beyond their capabilities. So I've taken someone who was my best salesperson and made them the manager. And really, they're terrible at being the manager, but I'm so overwhelmed. I just needed someone in this role, but I gave them no tools on how to be a manager. And now my sales are suffering because my best salesperson's not selling anymore. Now I'm mad about that. So I tell them they need to sell more, and then there's no time for management. So if you have any of that dysfunction, pull that person out of that role, temporarily, and have this be a vacant or open role. And then step through the hiring of that role. As you go forward, think who is the best candidate for this role, and then have this person apply or have an agreement with them that if they hit certain milestones or learn certain things, then they can move back up into that role. So no two people in one role. Another rule or something to seriously consider is when you have a person who's spanning multiple departments. There's no uniformity of work. So here we have uniformity of work. These people generate new business, growth, 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 get leads, sell leads. These people deliver, satisfy, ensure, make happy, deliver, deliver. These people support, support, support. So if I'm here and my mindset is support, 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 then I'm thrown over here and I'm like, oh, generate, generate, generate. You see what I mean? It gets very complex and difficult to be productive. In addition, people have personalities that fit certain roles. These people here that are grow, 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 growth, 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 they're not always good at support, support, support. That's not where their mindset is. So you're asking someone to not only be frantically all over in different results, but also go against what they're naturally good at. And that's creating the stress and the chaos and the lack of productivity and profitability. So think about those two things, marry the present with the future, and then you've got this great organization chart that is for the future, but also the present situation. Over here in account administration is where you literally marry the present with the future. So here I set up users, like Jackson here, and I assign him to his positions on the org chart. So I give him, he's customer support. Maybe he's the admin assistant until we hire a new admin assistant. Maybe he's also a junior consultant. Maybe he's this, maybe he's that. I assign him to his roles. And then when he logs into TouchStone, or when I log in as his manager, I see his name in two spots. He's customer support. He's also the HR assistant. If I was multiple positions, I would see multiple positions here. If you're the owner of the company, like I'm logged in as the admin user, so maybe I'm the board of directors, I'm the owner, I'm the president, manager, and I'm also the office manager. Now, when I go back over here, I'm going to see all three roles here. If you see more than three roles here, I think that's an indicator that you've planned too far in the future. So scale back your org chart over here. Combine boxes or eliminate boxes that you know aren't going to be full-time positions in 2 years. So if you see more than three here, or you have people who have more than three, just think about it, because it's a lot. It's too much to plan for. It gets too complicated. Another tip or technique, if I've got Jackson here, who's this role and this role, if he's doing part-time work for each, if I'm here looking at all of his processes for customer support, there's probably a lot of these that he can't do yet or is not accountable for yet, or could not possibly get to because he's got two full-time roles. So you can create a group here and call it do not use, save, and then move any processes that are future processes. So things that, are red. I'm going to expand it. So things that are red like this, and you can move it into this do not use category. like that. And then you can move this whole group to the bottom, and then it kind of sits there at the bottom. And when you go to hire the new full-time person for customer support, well, then you can, that would all be on that new person's position. Or if Jackson becomes a full-time customer support, then I can take these processes and move them back into what his main categories are. So I hope that was clear. What happens when you're marrying the present with the future is you want to make it simple for your people who are there now to see these multiple positions they fill and the multiple processes that they're responsible for. If you create the organization chart and you add all the processes for this role and all of the processes for this role, my point is Jackson can't do all that because he works 40 hours in the week. He doesn't work 80. So you'll want to go in through the dashboard here and take processes from his role here and move them into a do not use category. So he's looking at the critical things that he's supposed to be doing. Because he fills two roles, he's always looking for the critical things that he's supposed to be doing. So here and here. If you don't do it that way, then it becomes this mess of things he can never get to, things he can never do. All things you're asking him to do, you're telling him to do, he doesn't have enough time to do them all. So organize it for him in a way that allows him to see, yes, you fill both of these roles, but I can't expect you to do those two roles full time. So here are the critical things. I'm going to put those at the top in your dashboard. All right. There are there's a tool in TouchStone here in strategy and management that can help you do an analysis of your organization chart. And it's called the employee expense estimator. So when you do your future organization chart, it's good to look at that chart and think, is this profitable? So this is just a tool that can help you do that. You can download it from the library and step through it. There's 2 uploaded files here. So what I'm saying is your future organization chart, this represents money, right? You're paying people for each of these roles, hourly, salary, plus 30%. So we want to know if this is profitable in the future. And that helps you with scaling, because if Jackson's this one and this one, I want to know when I can hire this one full time and when I can move him just here. So analyzing the profitability of this is really important. It also helps for you to see what employees are making now and then what they're going to make in the future in the next 2 years. Oftentimes we price people out. So this person's been here forever. Now they're making 80,000 a year. Well, I'm never going to pay them more than 80. You just can't. It's impossible, or you'd never be profitable. So if you're in that situation, you can lay out the position so you see this is what they start at and this is what they'll make in 2 years. You can use our profit estimator if you want, or you can go to ChatGPT and use that. So what I would do is take a snippet of, and I'm going to hit new here, take a snippet of your org chart, and you can do it in sections. So here's a picture of my org chart. I'm going to go to ChatGPT. Use this org chart to determine the salary and hourly wage for each position. Little plus, I'm just going to paste it in. So I paste it in, and now it's loading my organization chart. I hit this little go button, and now you can even put what state and city you're in. So it knows I'm in Northern California because I've trained it to know. So it's giving me, the average salary of each of these positions. Then I can say, create a entry rate and 2 years out if 2% increase. So you know what I mean? You can just futz around with it until you get tons of information. So, but just this information alone kind of lays it out for you. This is like a broad step forward to how we used to do it. That little estimator, go to salaries.com, figure it out. We use ChatGPT to do it. All right, so let's talk about AI positions in the time that we have left. So there's a handout that I'm going to give everyone. This is what it is. And I just sent it to the chat. If you don't get it in the chat or something happens, just email me and I'll email it to you. So this is AI solutions by employee role in a small business. So I've broken this into categories, so strategy and management. And if you look at the organization chart here, this is kind of strategy and management, these positions here. This is sales and marketing. This is operations. This is the office, admin, finance. So it's broken up like that. And it's got positions listed. So owner, CEO, operations manager. And there's just a few. It's not every single position. And it's giving you a list of just example AI assisted processes. It gives you the benefit, like how much time a week it could save. And then there's a little guide here on some ideas for AI tools that you might use for it. So you can scroll through and see just these different ideas. These are processes: campaign builder, SEO optimizer. These are the objectives. So it does that for every position. The idea of this is people think AI is coming for my job. AI is all over the place. Well, it is. In some situations, it is coming for your job. But the way I like to see it, and a way that I think that makes the most sense and the easiest to digest, is that we can use AI right now to make our current people, our current roles more effective. So you don't eliminate anyone. It's not coming for someone's job. You start by saying, what AI could we implement to make our current org chart more effective or efficient? So if I know that I can implement an AI process for the office manager and it's going to save this person 10% of their time, 20% of what they do on Mondays, well, then that frees up that much more time for them to be managing people correctly. Doesn't mean that we're eliminating the office manager. It means we're making them more effective. It may in the end mean that we need less salespeople or we need less marketing coordinator. We don't need a marketing coordinator. It might mean that. Who knows? But what it does mean in the current situation is that everybody can be more effective by using just a little bit of AI. So here's this office manager role that I've done as an example. And I'm literally listing the processes and putting AI next to them. You can put, it's not full AI, like the whole AI just doesn't do all of the recruiting assistant. It doesn't do all of the daily planning or all the staff scheduling. There's a component of it that it does do though. So when we're recruiting, there's a component of it that we use AI for. When we're daily planning, there's a component of it that we use AI for. When we're doing the executive briefing, there's a component of it. Every single one of these things on this list can be done with the free version of ChatGPT. So you don't need to get into creating agents or creating GPTs or buying other subscriptions. I think for 20 bucks a month, ChatGPT is so robust. I pay the 20 bucks a month. I think most of you do also. Because then you can have unlimited kind of questions and requests and it gets to know you and all those great things. So this is recruiting assistant AI. So here we just have a work plan which says how do you analyze resumes using ChatGPT? Well, you collect the resumes, you put the inputs in, so it does this step by step. You can even use our AI here to create a step by step for you. So if you have this idea of having an AI assist for your HR position or for your office manager, that will help them analyze resumes. You can go here and say, create a step-by-step for analyzing resumes using ChatGPT. You hit go, and it will create the step-by-step for you. So that's all it looks like. You think of these positions on your org chart, and maybe think of one or two per position. And use the worksheet, and just consider one or two per position that could have some AI assist to it. And then think about what that would look like. What would they be using? If you currently do that, then document that and have the process with a little hyphen that says AI assist and document it into TouchStone. So I'm going to run through just a few examples here on the dashboard. And I chose very simple things that most of you probably already do, but maybe some of you don't, but they can be way more elaborate than this. So I'm going to go to my position here, office manager. and I've got groups here. You can even put it in the group title, so I know that some of these processes are AI assist. So here is this idea of recruiting assistant. Here's a work plan that gives me the step-by-step for how to do it. So I'm collecting the resumes. I'm going to put the prompts are important. So I'm going to copy these prompts. And then I go to ChatGPT right here. And I'm going to say, I'm going to paste in these prompts. And I'm going to say, use this to, and it's already, I hit enter by accident. Use this to analyze this resume. So then I'm going to take the, move this out of the way. I'm going to take the job posting and I'm going to take the resume and put it into ChatGPT, and it's going to then take the job posting and the resume. So it's right, Sarah's application and the job posting, open. And then I hit the go after it loads. And what it does is it creates this analysis of the job posting and her resume. So I fumbled around with that a bit, but basically you take the prompts and you paste it in, and then we upload her resume and her job posting, and this is what it gives you. It's pretty remarkable. So then I can go down and just copy this and go back to TouchStone. And then I just go to the document tool here. I call this paste it here. So now it's in TouchStone. And then I call this Sarah. And I save it. So now this analysis of her job according to the resume is all here inside of TouchStone. And you can go through, and sometimes it does these little weird question marks and stuff. But basically, this is what it looks like. So now my manager can go over here and run a report and see this analysis of Sarah's resume based on the job posting. So that's just one kind of quick and dirty example. Another is for like financial analysis, like creating an executive briefing. This is all using the free version of ChatGPT. So here, as the office manager, maybe I do a monthly summary of the financials that I give to my boss, the CEO, so he can or she can review what has happened for the month. So here's P&L analysis using ChatGPT. So same idea. These are the prompts. So I just learned to cut the prompts and copy them. Then I go back to ChatGPT. I drag and drop in the financials. Super easy, your P&L and your balance sheet. I paste this in. I hit enter. And then it does an analysis using that spreadsheet or PDF that I've uploaded with my P&L on it. So it might take it a minute to do this, but it's pretty remarkable. This is the P&L. This is just a sample one that I put in for these purposes. So it's got all the numbers. It can do it with the most complicated of documents. And then it's going to answer all of these questions. What are the biggest categories that we're spending money on? Explain the key drivers, give the prompts, and it's ChatGPT just being slow, but you get the idea. So, oh, there it goes. So it gives you all this key information based on your spreadsheets. And then again, you can copy it and you go back to TouchStone and I go to the document and I paste it in. And the reason I'm doing this is the idea is somebody's doing this work for you using ChatGPT. So when you paste it in here, this is where you can go and review it. So this is the analysis of, and again, you got to get rid of the question marks. And there might be a way to get around that I'm just not aware of. But again, it gives you all of this detailed description of the analysis. So those are just a few ideas. I think all of you have the AI assistant workbook that I sent out there. I think it's really just as simple as looking at your organization chart and thinking which positions could be more efficient using some version of AI. Which positions are already using AI that we need to document and get down? There's a lot of like innovative employees out there that I run across all the time that are doing this on their own. And you may not even know about it, but you don't want that leaving with them, right? You want that documented in your business so the next customer support person that comes around is going to be able to do that as well. There's this massive amount of AI stuff out there. ChatGPT, Loom videos, Scribe, all these ways of not only documenting SOPs, but using AI-driven processes in a business. We call it SOP chaos. It's like all over the place. What happens in TouchStone is you move it all into TouchStone and you make it usable. So anything here around recruiting or anything around daily planning, I add this to TouchStone, I add the videos, I add the content, and then now you're in a situation where I'm here, and if I'm the bookkeeper or if I'm the office manager, boom, I click here and there it all is. I'm not looking through files and folders and where was that and where is this and where's all that great content that we got done with this other tool, it's all here. So I just wanted to give that spiel about TouchStone because I think the more content we have available to us through AI, which is a lot, sometimes the more chaotic it is, the more confusing it is, the less useful it is. So TouchStone can simplify it if you put everything into it that is very usable and manageable, and then have it very accessible to all your employees. Next week because we are out of time, I just noticed. Next week, we're going to be talking about this. So when you select a box on the org chart, you're taken to a list of the processes that this position is responsible for. Sometimes called a job description, sometimes called a process list, sometimes called a to-do list, whatever you call it. This is the key to being able to train and manage your employees. It's as simple as this. I would suggest that even if you didn't go in and document all of this list alone is probably way more substantial than a lot of business have, 80% probably. I have a list of what the customer support position is responsible. I have an explanation of what they do and what they need to focus on. Once all this is documented, it's the complete training for how to do this position. This is the answer to scaling in a nutshell. Because if I know that it takes 2 weeks or let's say 6 months to train a person in all of these processes, top to bottom, and I know that I'm going to pay them $20,000 for those 6 weeks, including my overhead and my management time. Now that's how you scale, right? That's the basics of it. Because if I know it's going to cost me 20 grand to have 5 of these people times 5, well, now I know what it's going to cost me to grow. And then I can start making real decisions about how to hire. It also becomes a fantastic management tool. And I'm going to tell you a lot about that next week, what it means to manage a process, what it means to manage an employee using a process, how to get employees to use their processes, and all that great stuff. So org chart along with these process lists are fundamental for management in a business. And we're going to talk extensively about that next week.